Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach. I am sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is currently on vacation, having fun, vacating, relaxing, and doing it deservedly. She will be back before you know it. But we are here today. I am sitting in the chair for the show. We're here from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and we have a huge packed show. Before we get to that, Calvin Butenhoff on the boards. Calvin, how are you doing? How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was pretty good. It was void of labor. How about you, Greg?
I wasn't laboring for a paycheck, but definitely working for the weekend because we were doing all sorts of stuff with family. It was a big packed weekend with, just family in town celebrating my mother-in-law's 80th birthday, seeing some of my family as well. So it was a good weekend. By the time we got to yesterday afternoon, it was absolutely just on the couch, trying not to fall asleep because I didn't want to fall asleep too early. But yeah, we had a great weekend. I'm glad you did as well. We hope you had a great weekend too. Hope it was full of fun, frivolity, and frivolousness because, the weekend's for that. If you want to join us, if you want to call in, you want to be part of the conversation, you can do that by call or text at the same number, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, or leave a comment on the live stream. We are currently on Facebook, YouTube, and the site that we in this house still call Twitter. At 9:35, we've got Todd Alba, who is the host of the Todd Alba Show. He will be joining us today. We're going to be talking about, we discussed it earlier on Friday. We're going to talk about it more today. We're going to talk about J.D. Vance's trip to La Crosse last week, some of the things he said about Milwaukee, and just how that area of Wisconsin, as well as many areas in Wisconsin, are going to be hit hard by the big bill for billionaires. We're going to talk about really the true cost of it all, on how it's going to hit the healthcare as well as just, our farmers. So at 9:35, Todd Alba will be here for that. And then at 10:06, we have Professor John Shelton. He is the chair of Democracy and Justice Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. He's also the president of the AFT Wisconsin. And we're going to be talking about Labor Day, the unions, but most importantly, we're going to be talking about a letter that AFT sent to the candidates for the 2026 governor's race to kind of see where they stand with unions, how they will stand with unions, and we will find out more. And we'll discuss some other things as well, including how we bridge that divide through the work of the unions. Talk about the history of the labor movement here in Wisconsin. Very rich, deep history. But you want to show up there for at 10:06 with Professor John Shelton. At 10:35, Calvin, this is going to be fun. We've got Civic Media's very own Terry Barr. She is absolutely, Jane refers to her as the genie of just about everything. She'll be joining us to talk about her latest edition of Slice of Wisconsin, where she highlights a fun thing going on in Wisconsin. Going to have an audio component as well. So you can join at 10:35, or you can just stick around. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful packed show. Just wanted to let everybody know this came through. It's being reported through ABC that President Trump is scheduled to make an official announcement from the Oval Office at 1 p.m. Central Time today. The details have not been immediately disclosed, but just to let you know that there will be an announcement from President Trump from the Oval Office at 1 p.m. today. So I'm sure that we'll have more information as the day goes on. But it that just came through the wires, and we wanted to let you know. So, Calvin, a lot of things happening this weekend, a lot of news happening, but I wanted to take this time. There was an article in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel written by Rick Barrett, titled Abbotsford's immigrants have been welcomed for decades, but now some are afraid. And if you don't know about Abbotsford, it's a small town in Wisconsin, north central. It's very small, about 2,300 in the population. Very, very stereotypical Wisconsin. Small town charm, lovely people. And the reason for that headline, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it, is there was a resolution that came up amongst the Clark County Board of Supervisors. Abbotsford actually is in both Clark and Marathon County, but the Clark County Board of Supervisors were considering a resolution that would encourage the Sheriff's Department and other local agencies to assist when called upon by federal agencies to help with immigration and deportation, basically helping ICE. We've seen this all over the country, but the Clark County Board took up a resolution. They talked about it. And luckily, I will say this, two things. It was a non-binding resolution, which means that it wouldn't have said that this had to have happened. This was more of a resolution to encourage sheriffs to participate. So it just would have been a vote of confidence, if you will. It was a very poor phrase, but it's really what it was. A vote of confidence from the Clark County Board to say, yes, you should do this. It was voted on the 21st, and after critics objected, this is coming from the article from Mr. Barrett, I will put this in the show notes, the board voted 20-8 to send it to the Law Enforcement Committee for review and feedback. Essentially, they didn't pass it. They sent it back to the committee to do further review and further research and come back with more information. But this is basically a pause. And as Tony Vasquez, a Spanish language interpreter from Wausau, he says, quote, I think putting this on pause was good. Because, folks, this is Wisconsin, small town. And it says here that even though it was non-binding, it would have encouraged racial profiling and mistrust in law enforcement. And in cities like Abbotsford, it's a huge action that would have massive, massive detriments on the community. Because Abbotsford, right here in Wisconsin, our state, small town, 2,300. Immigration has been a part of that community for over 100 years, since the late 1800s, when the railroads were being built through Wisconsin. Abbotsford actually put the call out to say, hey, come here, come live here. In 1911, the Abbotsford Clarion Ledger newspaper promoted the area to immigrants in an article, and it was promoting it to people of European descent as that who was coming here at the time to say, come here, you are always going to be welcome. Over time, the attitude of welcoming towards immigrants kept up, but the names and faces changed. It went from people of European backgrounds to people of Latino backgrounds, and they have been coming there for a very long time. And they have been working in that community. And I want to know, are you from this area? Are you from around this area? Do you live in a community like this? Because you know where we're going with this, folks. This is a small town. These people, whether, born in Abbotsford or coming there as immigrants, contribute to their economy. And this isn't like New York, LA, or even Milwaukee where, and this, if people are taken, the cities can survive because there's so many. And it's not right, but it's just the fact. When you have a city with 500,000, 1 million, 2, 5, 7 million people, when individuals are taken, there isn't such a damage to the economy. And this is what it would be. It would damage to the Abbotsford economy. Abbeyland Food is a business there in Abbotsford, and they have more than 1,000 employees, and they employ people who are immigrants. So and they know so much that the economy of that community and the business itself depends on their labor, because in 2017, the company shut down one of its plants for a day and slowed production so employees could attend a Day Without Latinos, Immigrants, and Refugees rally in Milwaukee. That's how much they know that these individuals are important to their community in Abbotsford. 2,300, not New York, not LA, not Chicago. And we talked about, the idea that, we're going to go to these big cities that are full of crime and get rid of all these individuals who are committing crime. We're going to get rid of all the immigrants because they're all criminals, and the criminals are going to go away. And we said, yes, get rid of the criminals, Calvin. We said, get rid of the criminals. If they're here illegally and they are criminals, get rid of them. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a big city. We're not talking about a big bustling metro area. We're talking about Abbotsford, Wisconsin, 2,275 residents. 38% of them identify themselves as Hispanic or Latino. That's according to the U.S. Census data. 60% of the school district students are Latino. The churches have been a place where immigrants have found support because the rumors of ICE raids are surfacing, and the vote from the Clark County Board only stoked those fears. Again, this is an article coming from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, written by Rick Barrett, entitled "Abbotsford Immigrations Have Been Welcome for Decades, but Now Some Are Afraid." These are individuals who are contributing, they're paying taxes, they are part of the community, and now they have to be afraid because this isn't LA or New York or Milwaukee or Madison or Green Bay. This is a tiny town. And if ICE comes to this town and starts deporting, by the way, folks who are going through the process to stay here legally or at least get stays, this is going to devastate this community. And I just want to know, for those who are on the train of get rid of them all because they're all criminals, how does this sit fine with you? I don't see, I would love to hear from you too. Make that make sense to me. They're going through the process. They contribute money. They contribute taxes. Their kids are here in the neighborhoods. They're part of our families. They're part of Wisconsin. They're Wisconsinites, in my opinion. And that's all there is to it. And we're not talking about drug trade. We're not talking about trafficking. We're talking about people who come in here for a better life to raise their kids. Work hard. They're not asking for much. I mean, they just want to be part of a community. And Abbotsford has opened their doors, and they've been doing it for over 100 years. And now we're at a place where instead of saying, we've got a county board that, to their credit, listen to the community. We've seen the videos of county boards, city councils who just don't listen, who just talk over people, who just look at their phones. But credit to the Clark County Board. They sent it back for review. And I want to know what you think of this, because frankly, this is what we've been talking about for a while. You want to start with these big cities, of course, because they're big cities. They're, quote, crime dens and criminal havens. And it's easy to vilify them because they're big cities. And that's what we've been doing for so long. Big cities are full of the, quote, wrong people. But this is Abbotsford, Wisconsin. When they start going after these small towns, these small cities, they're going to crush their economies. They're going to hurt the people there. They're going to hurt us instead of helping. This is not how we do things. This is not how we should do things. This is actually how we do things. This is exactly how we're doing things. And they're doing it with impunity. And I hope to hear from you, because I want to know. I would really love to know your thoughts on this. I would love to know your take on ICE and sheriffs and police going into our small towns and rounding up people who are just trying to create a better life, who are going through the process, who are being deported. Is that Wisconsin? Is that us? I don't think so. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC is the number. You can leave a comment on the live stream as well. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. Also talk about, I guess they're not only going to be arresting people at courthouses or at their homes, but if you're working in the middle of a job, like say putting out, doing a very dangerous job, they might just arrest you as well. So don't go far. We're going to get some hydration, get a snack. This is Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay close. Stay tuned. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is out vacating. She'll be back. But I'm here today doing the show. Hoping you're doing well. You can get in touch with us. Call our text, same number, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. You can do that by going to Facebook, YouTube, or what we in this house still call Twitter. You can also contact us via the Civic Media app. It's absolutely free. See what I did there? That's a pun. Get that on your device, and then you can call, text, or leave a voice note. That way you can participate in our free ticket Fridays or our giveaways, but that way you can always stay in touch with Civic Media. You can listen there live anywhere in the world. This free Civic Media app, go to your app store of choice, download it today, and participate, be part of the conversation. Talking about new fears in Abbotsford, Wisconsin, 2,300 people in that little community because the Clark County Board of Supervisors were voting on a possible resolution to encourage the sheriff's office to cooperate with federal agencies in their deportation efforts around the country. Not just big cities, folks, not just the scary blue liberal bastions, but places like Abbotsford where regular folks are paying their taxes, doing their work, living their lives, Wisconsinites through and through. And this, of course, has stoked new fears. These are people part of the community. They are loved. They're valued. They're contributors. And if you want to just get real, I don't want to say, take away all the emotion. It's really about the fact that they're also participating in the economy. They're also buying. They're also, it says here, you wouldn't have, this is someone who spoke about the people there. You wouldn't have the tax revenue from all those people working and paying taxes. They're buying groceries, clothing, and patronizing other merchants. They're renting homes, buying homes, and starting businesses. Whether you look at it from your heart or from your head or from your wallet, these are individuals who are contributing to the economy of Wisconsin, the economy of this United States. Immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes, state, local, federal. Whether they aren't documented or they're here through legal measures, they are paying into their taxes. They are part of our economy. They're part of our community. And this, to me, just seems like, well, we vilify and we look at the big cities and say, well, we need to get rid of all the crime. This is not the big city. This is Abbotsford, Wisconsin, north central Wisconsin. Troy from Mount Horeb is on the phone. You've been waiting. Thank you so much, Troy. Good morning. Happy belated Labor Day. And what say you on this?
Good morning and happy belated Labor Day to you all also. I don't understand the hatred for the brown people that are just trying to make a way for themselves and make a better life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm glad I don't understand that because
it means you have compassion, Troy.
Yes, exactly. And empathy, which is a sin according to Elon.
Yeah, that's something that man said. Yeah, empathy is a sin. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Troy. And I want to make clear that individuals in Abbotsford, there are people in that community who are working through the process to stay here legally, or at the very least not be deported because they want to go through the process. And Troy, as you and I have heard through the years, it's always been a cry from certain individuals who say, well, why can't they do it the right way? Why can't they come here legally? Well, guess what? When they do, they still get arrested. There was a story out of Los Angeles. A man has been waiting over a month trying to figure out why his wife, who has a green card, was deported. They're doing it legally, and they're still being thrown out, Troy. I don't know. Like you said, you have empathy and compassion. It sounds like logic, rationale, so it doesn't make sense to either one of us.
Yeah. People getting their green cards are doing it the right way, and they're having their hearing terminated, and they're being arrested on the spot.
Yep.
And it's just ridiculous.
Yep. And frankly, and thank you so much, Troy, for calling. I always love hearing from you. And as I said before, happy belated Labor Day. Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. And frankly, the phone lines are not lighting up with folks who think this is a good idea because they cannot defend the fact that this is all built on a lie. We were told these were criminals that were going to be deported. These were people who are, bad dudes, as the president once called them. But that's not what's happening. These are just regular folks who are trying to make a life. And it's indefensible. Because I'm not hearing from anyone saying, good, get rid of them. They're all criminals regardless. Because it's not. The story over the weekend about Guatemalan children who had to have a deportation stayed because they were going through the foster system trying to get stay orders confirmed so they wouldn't be deported. It doesn't matter. They're probably the law, the courts, the process does not matter to them. And before we get out of here and we go grab some hydration and a snack, and when we do come back at 9:35, we'll be talking to Todd Alba about J.D. Vance's visit to La Crosse last week. Firefighters question leader's role in Washington immigration raid, and Wisconsin Examiner's reporting this. Alex Brown with the byline. I'll just read this really quick. Federal immigration authorities last week raided an active wildfire response in Washington state, arresting 2 firefighters and sidelining crew for hours. You heard me correct. They raided an active wildfire response. The wildfire veterans say the operation was nearly unprecedented, a breach in longstanding protocol that federal agents do not disrupt emergency responders to check immigration status. This is not about criminals anymore. It never was about criminals, let's face it. It never was. That was always a lie. But they don't care that they're lying. They don't care that they're doing it out in the open. They don't care that we see what they're doing because they do it with impunity because they just got the largest increase in big bill for billionaires. So they get to do what they want. They are stopping wildfire responses to arrest crew members because they are suspected of being here illegally as immigrants. Hopefully we'll find out more about this, but don't go far. Get yourself a water. Stay hydrated because when we come back after the news, Todd Alba, host of the Todd Alba Show here on Civic Media from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll be here talking about J.D. Vance in La Crosse. Don't go far. Stay close. Stay tuned. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Kelvin, can you hear me? Pardon me.
Good morning. God bless you.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's allergy. I'm dealing with a lot right now, Greg. I'm dealing with a lot.
That's fine. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
All things considered, well.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We almost matched. I almost
I know.
wore that
I was
shirt
like,
today, and I got the other one.
I like that one. I want to get one of those too. So when we come back, I got Jack from Merrimack on the line. I'm going to take his call really quick.
Yes.
We're just talking about the story in coming out of Abbotsford about the immigration.
I was listening.
Clerk. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah. So when we come back, we'll take that real quick, and then we can talk about that too. But we'll also talk about JD Vance.
Whatever you want.
We'll go where the wind takes us.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Talk to you in a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Muchas gracias.
Ooh. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is currently vacating, resting, relaxing, deservedly, and she misses you. She just told me. So she'll be back in a few days. But for now, you've got me, Sweet Cal B on the boards, and oh my gosh, look who's here. We are matching almost twinsies. We're like fraternal shirt twins.
Exactly.
Mr.
Very close.
Mr. Todd Alba, host of the Todd Alba Show, which is on Civic Media Monday through Fridays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can listen to it live on the radio or get it on the Civic Media app. You know, it's great ways to listen to us, to him every day, Monday through Friday. Todd, how are you doing? How was your Labor Day weekend?
Thank you so very much for asking. Let me just tell you this. The one thing I did outside of the house this weekend is I popped up to Wisconsin Dells because my sister and brother-in-law and mom and I, we mostly them because they have the camper Christmas Mountain, and they're camping over the holiday. It was great. And I went right down through the heart of Lake Delton, Wisconsin Dells. I looked over at one of the big water parks, and it was like sardines in a can. And I thought, who in the world would be in that mess? And I look over, and riding a large flamingo blow up type of device in one of the big pools, our very own, I hate to disclose where she's at, Jane Matenaer was there in the pool in the Dells, and her lovely husband, Paul, was in one of those cabanas you can rent out on a lounge. Yeah. And I heard him wave and just say, "Lovely, darling, keep it up." And they looked like they were having a great time. So I hope that Jane and Paul continue their Dells vacation, and I know they're having a lot of fun.
I just love this idea of Jane sightings in the wild. So
right. No, you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. And we're going to talk about this on the slightly more serious note on the show today, because you got good old RFK Jr. coming before Congress after he's basically gutted the leadership at the CDC. I got my Shingrix, my shingles, and my pneumococcal pneumonia vaccine shot all together on Friday at my annual physical. Now, the good news is I'm physically okay, mentally so-so. But I got these vaccines, and I've heard it was my second Shingrix, my shingles vaccine. Yeah. I'm telling you, I was down for the count most of Saturday. I was like sweating and chills, but now I'm feeling relatively normal. But you just got to push through it. you got to
Yeah.
get your vaccines, folks. But
Yes,
that's
you
what I
do.
did. I recovered from my Shingrix vaccine. That was most of my Labor Day weekend, Greg. How about you?
Very busy, hanging out with family. It was in-law's 80th birthday celebration. We were having a good time, doing our thing. But by the time we got to yesterday, as I said, when the show started, I was done by like 3:30. I'm like, is it too early for bed? Is it too early for bed right now? Because I feel like I could go to bed right now. So yeah, it was a very fun weekend. And then of course, and we're going to talk to Professor John Shelton in the second hour at 10:06 about this. But you love Labor Day. You love that day off. Thank you, union member, because that's why they're here. They fought to get that. So, talking earlier before you got here, Todd, we were talking about the story in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel regarding Abbotsford and the Clark County Board of Supervisors voting to not encourage the sheriff's office to cooperate with federal agents on immigration raids throughout the community, which would absolutely devastate that town of 2,300. We were taking your calls and texts, and Jack from Merrimack has been holding very long, very patiently. Jack, what say you on the topic? Thank you so much for calling in this morning.
Well, yeah, I just had a little observation in not just in Washington, D.C., but all over the country. We've got armed agents, and they claim to be authorized by government, but they got uniforms. You know what? You could get those uniforms at many costume shops. They're masked.
Yep.
They're either unwilling or unable to show a government ID. They don't have judicial warrants, no probable cause more than skin color or tattoos. No due process, and they arrest whomever they wish, abduct them, sometimes forcibly, from homes, workplaces, churches, lately schools, and even courtrooms where they are following the law to update their legal status, and they send them off to other countries where they've never been, or hold them incommunicado for lengthy periods. And just incidentally, by the way, accidentally, of course, currently over 70 of those who have been abducted were American citizens, and that doesn't even count the armed troops in the streets. So who are the criminals?
Yeah.
You think everybody feels safer? Just a few years ago, this would have been called kidnapping.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for calling, Jack. We appreciate that. And I mean, it's everything you were saying. I'm thinking about all these situations I've seen stories on it, and not just going to, like, as I said earlier, before we got the news, they raided firefighters in the middle of a wildfire response while they were working. They arrested 2 people. And Todd, I mean, I know that we're going to talk about JD Vance, because God knows we want to. God knows we need to. He came to La Crosse and he had so many things to say. It was amazing. He has so many great words from Milwaukee, but I mean, it just comes down to, it was sold to us, Todd, as we're going to get rid of the criminals. And most of us were like, sure you are. But now it's not even a matter of trying to stick up for the lie. They're not, it doesn't even matter if they're lying. They don't care, because there's no stopping them. They're going to do what they want because they have the power. The big bill for billionaires gave them a ton of money. They got the president. They have people. Like, it's the fact that they said, oh, we're gonna make America safe again too. It's like, no, you're just gonna get rid of brown people because you don't like brown people. Just say that. We know that's what you mean.
I think most reasonable Wisconsinites would say, hey, if there's 1 or 2 people in our state who committed a bank robbery or committed a heinous sexual assault or, of course, a murder, and they got let out on probation, and they did it again, and they happen to be undocumented, well, then sure, we don't want those 1 or 2 people around. They're troublemakers. They're bad folks. But to Jack's point, as most reasonable people, if you think through it, that's not the people that the Trump administration is going after. And Jack's 100% right that many, if not most, of these people who are being, quote unquote, rounded up and detained end up being here under legal status, either citizens or permanent residents or other legal visa types of things. And some came here legally, applied for extensions, but because of I still call INS or ICE is underfunded, the time it takes to get that approval for extension takes so long that their current legal status expires. So then they become, quote unquote, as the Trump MAGA folks like to say, illegal. And it's not that folks are coming across the border, although some did, of course, but many of these people did not. They came here the quote unquote right way, and they're their status expired. So yeah, I mean, it was really interesting, I think, to get to round it back to this JD Vance visit. By the way, I cannot confirm this, although I've heard through various sources. A lot of people are saying that
A lot of
the
people are
vice
saying,
president
folks.
was. A lot of people are saying the vice president was disappointed because the folks in Wisconsin, RPW, did not take him to his favorite spot in Wisconsin around the La Crosse area, Ashley Furniture, which he had requested but did not work out. So that he's very disappointed about that. Although he was slightly inspired when he drove through La Crosse's campus and saw some old sofas being put out by fraternities on the curb. But other than that, he was speaking about President Trump wants to be asked to come into Milwaukee to take care of crime and that sort of thing. And what I thought was interesting, there was reporting, I think it was Matt Smith at WIS done up front over the weekend and put into WisPolitics as well, that good old former state senator and now Congressman Scotty Fitzgerald, Republican, when asked by reporters over the weekend, said, no, I think Milwaukee's different. I think we're fine. We really don't need the Trump administration to bring in armed military folks to get rid of crime in Milwaukee. But Chicago, yes. So I just, continue to ask your viewers and listeners, as I think is always a good thing to do. How would you feel if armed military personnel came into your town, whether it's where we were at lovely Butternut or Hayward or Green Bay or the Cross or Milwaukee or Madison or Richland Center? How would you feel? Because most people would say, well, we don't need it here. Well, put yourself in the places where it is happening. And I think that's a good way to look at things.
I could not agree more. If you're just joining us right now on Matenaer On Air, we are talking to Todd Alba, the lovely and wonderful, talented and great. Give him more compliments. He hates it. Yeah. He is the host of the Todd Alba Show, which is on weekdays 2 to 4 p.m. here on the Civic Media Radio Network. And we're talking about J.D. Vance in La Crosse last week, speaking to a group of individuals. None of the individuals and J.D. Vance were not in Milwaukee. They were in La Crosse, but he had amazing thoughts about Milwaukee. Kelvin, we have a bit of a clip there we can play real fast to the point of what you were just talking about, Todd.
Is Milwaukee a super safe city right now?
No.
It's had some crime problems. It's a beautiful city. There are a lot of beautiful, incredible, hardworking people who live there, but let's be honest, Milwaukee has had some crime problems. So have other parts of our community. Chicago, I know we're not too far from Chicago. Chicago's had a lot of crime problems. Why is it that you have mayors and governors who are angrier about Donald Trump offering to help them than they are about the fact that their own residents are being carjacked and murdered in the streets? It doesn't make an ounce of sense.
Offering, Todd. Offering.
Well, and
offering.
That's right.
I
Pretty helpful hand out there,
I have not read my dictionary in quite some time. I was not aware that the Webster and or Merriam-Webster and or Oxford or Steve's dictionary has redefined the word offering as in uninvitedly marching into a town with troops and weapons to round up criminals or just stand around. Really, honestly, in all seriousness, I have family who live in D.C. and I was told this weekend that ICE agents are standing around train stations asking for identification, asking people where they are going, and basically gumming up the works of transportation in that city just because they have to make their presence both known and justified, and to do that, they have to just bother people.
Yeah, it's disturbing. I have friends live in DC, work in the DC area as well. And what's interesting, and I know this, is that where the Trump administration is putting U.S. Marshals, ICE, so on and so forth, are not in the highest crime areas of the district. Nope. It's a lot of this is for show, as you say, to gum up the works. Here's the one thing I'll say that I hope that Democrats take into consideration. I think to simply poo-poo it and just say, everything's fine in Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. We've done our show from there. You're based out of that area of the state. There's a story in The Hill over the weekend, thehill.com, 10 cities with the highest crime rates. And Milwaukee, I believe, is 5th in that. And it lists it out there. There was another story, I think, at WF8 or whatever the CBS or the television station is in the Fox Valley that talked about this as well over the weekend. So we all know that every city has problems, doesn't matter large or small. I think the point is to statistically say, sure, yeah, I mean, you can say we have problems, but we've got this. And I think the thing for Democrats is not to ignore the issues, but say to focus on we take care of our own. We don't want the feds coming in because historically, as a former Republican, Republicans have been against having outside, the feds come in and take control, the state come in and take local control. They want to make things local. So use that juxtaposition, I would say, and not ignore the challenges that our state has, but say, we got this.
Exactly. We're going to keep the conversation going with Todd Alba. If you want to be part of that conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. Want to hear from you on this regarding J.D. Vance, immigration, crime, all the things we're talking about with my friend Todd Alba. We'll be back in a little bit. Get yourself some water and a snack. Stay hydrated. Stay close. You're amazing. Listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for the lovely Jane Matenaer, who is currently somewhere, but I'm not telling you where. That's right. She misses you. She'll be back before you know it, but I'm sitting in the big chair for a little while here hosting the show, and I have the wonderful, lovely, talented, kind, generous, compassionate, verbose Todd Alba on the show. He is the host of the Todd Alba Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. here on the Civic Media radio. And he's looking at his phone currently trying not to listen to compliments.
This is never before done, I believe, on Matenaer On Air, because our news director, Shali Pittman, has just called me. I have her on speakerphone.
I'm so sorry, Tom.
And now we've got her on. You're on the air, Shali, on Jane on Matenaer On Air. This is fantastic. How are you?
I will call you later. I'm so sorry, Tom.
Thanks. All right, we'll talk to you later, Shali. Have a great day.
I think it's you heard it here, folks. Breaking news: Shali Pittman calls Todd Alba.
It could be because we have there's a big Trump presser at 1:00.
Yes,
and
from the
here's
Oval.
The deal. From the Oval, he's and so there may be a special report happening at 1:00. I may be a part of with Shali.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to urge people to bring in Pete Schwab, a host of Nightlight, because I'm no Dan Rather, you understand? I'm no David Muir. But I'm thinking if Trump is in the Oval Office and JD Vance is on one side and Mike Johnson's on the other, and Trump has his arms around their shoulders with sunglasses on and a bucket hat, I want to know. I want to know for Pete Schwab, does this qualify as Weekend at Bernie's? So I would just like to know that.
That was a very long walk to a punchline there, Todd. It was a very long walk. It was But yes, I was gonna bring that up towards the end of the segment. But yes, President Trump, they have announced through the White House. I don't care when you say it now. But at 1 p.m. Central, President Trump will be making an announcement from the White House, from the Oval Office. So yeah, stay close to Civic Media for more information. As we know more, we'll tell you more, and I'm sure we will have discussions about this event happening post event, if you will. So
we'll be there at 1 if something really is truly newsy, or at 2:00 to discuss if it's a nothing burger.
I mean, it's coming from the Oval, so I usually have nothing. Like, Oval's not. It feels like a something burger. It could be a something taco. I don't know, but we don't.
Maybe
know.
Trump has discovered that the so-called quote unquote gold fixtures in the new Oval Office are nothing more than plastic from Home Depot spray painted. That's actually true.
He's just going to read he's just going to read the Epstein list name by name for like 4 hours.
He's going to say, actually, yeah, I was on it.
Yeah, it's like, I got it right here, folks, and we're going through it name by name. Before we went to the commercial, we were talking about the ICE raids, the I don't know, the lies being told to justify the deportation of folks who aren't fitting the bill of what we were told would be deported. These are folks who are living their lives, paying taxes, by the way, paying billions of dollars in taxes to their communities, to their state, to their country. And they don't even, and they're going through these processes because they want to be here in a legal status. They want to go through the steps. And could you imagine, like, two things I want to propose to you, Todd. First of all, could you imagine if instead of all that money for ICE, we would have given like 60% of that funding increase to immigration and the courts, to speed up the process, get more judges, get more lawyers. Just we've said it before. We're not trying to make it easy. Like, it shouldn't just be you walk in the door and here you're an American. Like, I understand that there has to be processes involved, but it shouldn't be so hard that you put your time and money into this all and you can still be deported. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold value for those who are trying to do it, and it doesn't hold value for us as Americans who want those dollars, want those people, want that contribution to our economy and just our general culture as Americans. It doesn't make sense. It just once again, tell us you don't like brown people, be honest and say it like that, and then whatever. It's like, you're going to do what you want because that's what you've been doing for months anyways.
I think you and Jane have played parts of this cut. I played the whole thing on my show from the it was like a 1979 Republican presidential primary, but for the 1980 election when George H.W. Bush was primarying Ronald Wilson Reagan, and the question came up from a person in the forum about immigration, and George H.W. Bush said, "Hey, I have brown people in my family, and I think we have to find a way to bring them here, to make them legal, to find pathways to legality." Reagan said, "I'll up you one. I think we should have fewer fences, not even a wall, fewer fences, and have a way for people to come here, Mexico at the time, to pay taxes, to your point, to go back and forth and be part of our economy, which helps both countries." That was the Republican position of Ronald Reagan. And it shows you that MAGA is not really Republican nor conservative. It's a party of Trump. And so many people across the state have kids on volleyball and hockey and football and soccer teams and in band together. And they have no idea that their kids' best friends are dreamers and are not, quote unquote, documented. And so the question again I ask people is, would you like your kid's best friend who happens to be Latino to be rounded up and taken away? Would you like the kid who is the star athlete on your local sports team to be taken away? I know that's a simplistic way to look at it, but I think that gets to the point that
absolutely.
these folks are integrated as part of our community, and many times we don't know it. They're good folks who are contributing to our communities, who are a part of it, and we need to find ways, reasonable ways, to bring them into our community.
Todd Alba is on from 2 to 4 p.m. Stay close to the Civic Media Radio Network because we have an announcement coming from the Trump administration at 1 p.m., which I'm sure, Todd, you'll be talking about afterwards and on your show if it's not a nothing burger. But anyway, stay close because when we return, we have Professor John Shelton talking about the labor movement and how it's going to work with the 2026 governor's race here in Wisconsin. Todd, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Don't go far. Get some snacks. Get some water. Come back. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning, Professor. Oh,
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
good. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Doing great. Doing great.
Excellent. I was going to introduce you, and then I wanted to open it up about the letter that you wrote the candidates for the 2026 governor's race,
Sure.
and then just move it into the discussion about Labor Day in Wisconsin, Labor Day in America, and also talking about, Labor Day viewpoints on the rise in America and in the face of this administration. Does that sound cool with you?
Sounds great. Yep.
Anything you'd like for me to touch on while we're talking?
No, all that stuff is good. That's gonna easily fill a half hour.
You can talk about that stuff for a while. You can.
Yeah.
All right. And just so I have it clear, Professor, Chair of Democracy and Justice Studies at University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and President of AFT Wisconsin.
That's right.
Wonderful. All right. We come back in 1 minute and 15 seconds. Be good to go. Again, thank you so much for being here, Professor. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is currently vacating deservedly, and she texted me just now and says she misses absolutely all of you. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can call or text. It's the same number, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can also leave a comment on the live stream, which we are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we in this house still call Twitter. Once again, a reminder that President Trump will be making an announcement from the Oval Office at 1 p.m. Central. Stick here with Civic Media. I'm sure we'll have coverage, and I'm sure we'll be talking about whatever he has to say because it's coming from the Oval. Probably going to be important. So, yes, once again, 1 p.m., President Trump will be addressing the nation from the Oval Office. Stay close for Civic Media for more information. As we know more, we will share more. But for right now, I have a fantastic guest here for you today. He is the Professor, Chair of Democracy and Justice Studies at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. He's also the president of AFT Wisconsin. He's also an author. He's a labor movement specialist, a union activist, a guy who I have very excited to have on the show. I've heard so much about Professor John Shelton. Thank you so much, sir, for being on the show today. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Greg. And saying all that stuff makes me feel like I should take a nap.
Do it. I've read your CV. You deserve a rest, okay? But a happy belated Labor Day to you, and we're very excited to have you on. When I was approached to have you on, they were like, do you want to have John Shelton on to talk about labor and the union? I'm like, yes, we need to talk more about this. And I want to start somewhere right here in Wisconsin, of course. We can't get away from it. It seems like we're always in a state of perpetual election, but we have a big election here for governor next year. And your group wrote a letter to the candidates for that race. And I wanted you to talk more about that and what the letter had to say to them.
Yeah, well, so first of all, I spoke two different places yesterday here in Green Bay
yes.
for Labor Day, and one of my themes was basically that politicians won't save us. So let's kind of start with that. I mean, we have to organize ourselves, but obviously politics matter a lot. And so I guess this was over a month ago now, but when Governor Evers was kind of on the fence about running for a third term, right? And we weren't sure whether he was going to do it or not. I read a column that Senator Chris Larson from Milwaukee wrote for the Minocqua Brewing Company and the Substack there, which is very well read, which is very highly read in the state. And we just kind of started texting after, and I spent like way too much time because I was in Woodman's when we were texting, right? So if y'all know Woodman's,
Place is huge.
spent like 4 hours in Woodman's because I kept stopping to text Chris, and I finally got done. I was like, all right, let's talk. And we decided to, over a phone call, that what we should do is draft an open letter that no matter who ran in this election, there needed to be certain things that they did, whether it was Evers or somebody else. And so we brought in a number of other folks who are interested in this project, a lot of other labor union leaders. Chris got some colleagues in the legislature. And, the letter, which, folks can find out there and they actually can still sign on to, basically said what we want from a candidate, anybody, whether it's Evers or somebody else in this election, is somebody who is going to be committed to certain things, obvious things like empowering labor unions, racial justice, reducing mass incarceration, having a clean environment, all those things. But to me, I think what I was really proudest of in terms of the letter is it said, whoever the next governor is needs to be somebody who's going to fight with progressive groups. My interest in this really comes from the labor movement, but obviously other progressive groups are involved as well. Citizen Action signed on to this, for example. And that letter, I think, has become even more important as we now have an open primary, right? Because I'm not talking to a lot of candidates, and we've already got several great candidates who have declared, and there will be a lot more that will be announcing very soon. And that's what we're looking for as a union, is to see who's going to show up and fight with us for the things that we need to make this state, frankly, the state that all working people deserve. So that was the impetus for the letter. Again, it's still out there. Folks can still sign on to it. And, we're seeing this as obviously not the final word in terms of what, we expect out of candidates in this election, but, kind of a starting point for that conversation and really a lodestone.
And you were speaking about, when we just started here, you were talking about the events you went to yesterday. What are the things you're hearing from folks out of those events, from various unions, from various walks of life, various parts of Wisconsin? What are the key things you hear, and what are the things that connect more than anything else as far as, differing lives but shared experiences?
Yeah, so Green Bay, like a lot of places, has a labor event put on by the Green Bay Labor Council. It's not a parade as it is in a lot of other places, which was the sort of initial impetus for Labor Day. Actually, was workers' parades in the late 19th century, claiming public space. But we definitely claim public space, right? It's a big Labor Day picnic, and lots of locally elected officials are there, union folks are there. And then the second thing I did was later in the day, there was a protest, Workers Over Billionaires, that was organized by a number of different groups, but Indivisible was a part of organizing that, and I spoke there too. And I think people are fired up this Labor Day, right? I mean, you look at everything that's happened over the summer, and at the federal level, of course, that's Trump and the Trump administration, literally, sort of gloating about taking away food from people and taking away healthcare from vulnerable folks, and of course, locking up our immigrant brothers and sisters in the most cruel way possible, and occupying American cities. And I don't know what that announcement's going to be about, but could very well be an announcement that Trump is mobilizing the National Guard in Chicago, right? So, and of course we don't love Chicago during football season, but we stand with Chicago if that happens.
Absolutely.
And so I think people are feeling a real sense of like, what do we do about this? And so the things I kind of talked about, and really in both, obviously slightly different, tones for each event, but the thing I really emphasized is that we're not the first people in American history to have to fight for the things that we value. We have a very long history of workers and other groups organizing through militant action to fight for their rights, and this moment is no different. And it helps nourish us when we know that we have those groups who have come before us. And what I challenged everybody to do was to think about what they can do every day to fight authoritarianism. And it's going to look different for every person. And, I really do believe that, for folks who are in unions, we're very central in this fight. People have to build their unions. But, that people were very receptive to that message. They want to be doing something. They want they want to take action every day to fight for our democracy and to fight against authoritarianism.
If you're just joining us on Matenaer On Air, we're speaking to Professor John Shelton. He is a professor at UW Green Bay, as well as an author, as well as the president of Wisconsin, or the president of AFT Wisconsin. And we're talking about the labor movement. We're talking about labor fests around the state, as well as an open letter that his group wrote to the candidates running for the 2026 governor's race next year in Wisconsin. And something you brought up that was interesting. A friend of mine up in Green Bay, actually, she's a union organizer named Kristen Leidy, and
I know Kristen.
she is fantastic. And she was on our show yesterday for our pre-record for our special Labor Day and episode. And one of the things that she talked about, and I think this is very true, is that Wisconsin and America have a very rich history with the labor movement, but over the past decades, it's been allowed to be squashed, rewritten, retold, or just forgotten, not taught at all. And really, in the past few years, we've seen a resurgence in the history of why it's important, what it's done for us as a community, from whether you're talking about state, local, or federal, and why it's important to not only remember, but to pass this information to the next generation of young people who may see unions as, well, why do I need a union? I feel like there's more of a resurgence in, at least in popularity, but also just that understanding of what the unions have done for us as just, as Americans.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely the case. And I bet a lot of your listeners don't realize that we actually have a state law that mandates that students learn about labor history in high school.
Nope, didn't know that. Just found it out right now.
Got passed, I believe, in 2009 under Governor Doyle, and then everybody kind of just kept kind of under the radar when Walker was governor, because we didn't want it to be repealed. But we do have that law, and actually at UW Green Bay, I have a labor class that is part of the training curriculum for people becoming social studies teachers, because we know that is a state law. So folks who are coming out as educators from our program at UW Green Bay, they do know a little bit of labor history because they're likely taking my class. But I think the way you mentioned it, young people asking why we need a union, actually, unions have never been more popular among young people. So I believe I haven't seen the most recent numbers, but there's new polling that comes out every year around Labor Day, actually. And last year, polling came out that showed that for people under the age of 30, labor unions have about a 90% public approval rating.
Wow.
And actually actually striking has an 87% public approval rating. So young people get this, but the history is really important, because it's important for us to be able to help young people understand that, like, a union's not something that's this like unattainable thing, right? Like there are ways for you to organize, and understanding the past is really important. And as people are building unions now, also understanding places where labor might have gone wrong is also really important, right? Because it's not a unalloyed success story, right? I mean, there were elements of racism and sexism in the labor movement that we need to be attentive to. And so learning about that stuff has never been more important. But I think the most important thing is learning about the sense of possibility. And again, it's less I'm an academic, but as I've mostly spent my life doing union leadership, the academic stuff is not really as important as the storytelling, right? Like, what stories can we find from the past where we can build that sort of historical solidarity with people and show that we're part of a much bigger movement. And, those are the things that I think labor history are really, really good for.
I think that's very important, what you just said there about, basically essentially warts and all. It's like there's nothing, no one's perfect, no organization's perfect, no movement's perfect, and it's about reckoning the bad with the overall good and saying, look, that happened. We work hard to make sure it doesn't happen, or we have mechanisms in place to mitigate those problems. But I think that's a very important part, because, like, for me growing up, I wouldn't say we didn't like, my father was a union trucker growing up, but he didn't really like being in the union. He didn't hate it. He didn't despise them. He paid his dues, but he just was like, I don't know why I'm part. I don't need it. And I think knowing what he never understood is he didn't need it because it wasn't needed for him. He just was doing his thing, but they would have been there for him. He just never had to use the opportunity for a union rep. So I think telling that story, as you were saying, how important they are, and also how they're easily attained is very much a part of the conversation as well. And we're going to keep the conversation going with Professor John Shelton, who is the president of the Wisconsin AFT Wisconsin. Excuse me. And when we come back, I want to talk about something that's very important, especially in Wisconsin, which is about, as we mentioned earlier, finding out the things we have in common and how we can work together, regardless of whether you're from the city or whether you're from the rural area. But we're going to keep that conversation going with Professor John Shelton. If you want to be part of the conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We'd love to hear from you, but go get some snacks. Go get hydrated. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned and stay close. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who's currently vacating, and she will be back before you know it, but I'm here in the big chair, and we're happy that you are joining us today. If you want to call or text, it's 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, or leave a comment on the live stream. You can do that by watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or the place we still call Twitter. I got a text from Julie in Wausau listening on WXCO. She's talking about speaking on the discussion we had earlier on the immigration raids. I'm disgusted by the way that ICE is hunting down immigrants. These are the people in our community who are milking our cows, packaging our meat, picking our vegetables, working in restaurants, cleaning hotel rooms, taking care of our elderly. They pay taxes and contribute to Social Security and Medicare. Thank you very much, Julie, for chiming on that one. Yep, exactly. They're part of the community. They're part of our community, regardless of what people like to say or believe. But That's a conversation that's going to keep on going. The conversation that's going right now is with Professor John Shelton. He is a professor at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. He is also the president of AFT Wisconsin. He is an author. He is a man of great acclaim, and he has done a lot. He's going to take a nap after this interview because he has deserved it. But he's talking to us about Labor Fest. We're talking about Labor Day, the union movement in Wisconsin and throughout the country. And something, sir, that when I spoke to my friend Kristen Leidy, who is an organizer up in Green Bay, about is, when we think of the unions, we think of, the union job, representing the workers. But when you first started talking about the goals that you sought through a candidate for the 2026 election, it's not just about unions. It's about social justice. It's about equality. It's about all these other things. And that's, to me, I think part of the union discussion that we don't really cover a lot is how much the unions care about those issues as well as, the rights of workers. It's about equality, equity for the people in this country beyond the unions. It's for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, there's this kind of classic way of looking at labor unions, right? Which is like that unions can either support what are so-called bread and butter issues or other issues, right? And that somehow it's like problematic if unions look beyond issues that are not sort of directly related to the concerns of immediate like pocketbook concerns of workers. But the reality is that unions are always stronger when they have a broader community to rely on and to work with and to build the kind of world where everybody is included. Because one of the things that the right tries to do, and this has obviously been magnified a lot with the authoritarian in the White House and really the party of authoritarianism, is they want to divide us, right? The thing that allows them to be successful, and you've seen it, right? They've successfully divided the working people of this country, is to divide people around cultural issues, around race, around gender, around gender identity and sexual orientation. And what the labor movement does when it's at its best is it says we reject that. We will not allow you to do that, and we will have solidarity with each other. Mm-hmm. And the text that you got or email you got about immigrants, right? It's not just that they're doing all those things, paying taxes, et cetera. They're fellow workers, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether you're working at a university or you're running a radio show or you're the producer of this radio show like Calvin. Sorry, I'll just call him out. Or or anybody else, or you're milking cows on a dairy farm. Like, we're all workers, right? And that's what binds us together. And when you can fight for things like racial justice and gender equity, and to include our trans brothers, sisters, and other siblings in what we do, that actually strengthens the labor movement, right? It's not a distraction; it's what we are. And so how can we possibly have a conversation about building the state that we deserve, and that all of our members deserve, and that our students deserve, and that our clients deserve, right? How can we do that if we're not committed to those things?
And in the last few minutes that we have, I wanted to take that just a little step further too, is about, is that the divide can be, geographical. And I'm not talking about Los Angeles versus, small town America. I'm talking about, someone who lives in Milwaukee versus someone who lives in Hayward, Wisconsin, farmers, and how the unions can affect them and help them, because it's not just about the workers in the factories. As you said, we're all workers, and making them understand that we're here for you as well. And that this attempt to divide it shouldn't work, because we're all in this together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But again, like, look at how Trump has done this, right? I mean, like, I believe it was the vice president, right? Who basically said, maybe we'll go into Milwaukee now, right?
Yeah.
And that's by design, right? They're going after Democratic cities and in places. I was just talking to somebody about why Chicago, and I just realized the answer, right? Chicago, Milwaukee, these are big blue urban enclaves in the middle of cities or in states where you have, urban rural divides, right? And so what Trump is trying to do is to purposely, whether he's doing it intentionally or not, is to drive that wedge between people. And the reality is, when we let authoritarians and billionaires try to dictate our lives. And by the way, they won't stop until they have everything, right? They don't just want most of it; they want all of it.
Yeah.
That affects that farmer. When you have agricultural companies, having CAFOs and tainting the water and making it difficult for small dairy farmers to operate. And I think that is a mistake we've made a little bit in the labor movement, is not being attentive enough to that. And I think we need to be thinking about how this, building a big tent where we can all talk about each other's issues, but really unified around the idea that you have billionaires trying to basically take our livelihoods. And as far as I can remember, we fought a revolution over the idea that people with a concentration of power could dictate our lives.
Well, the revolution keeps on fighting, and I really thank you for your time, sir. I really appreciate you being here. I could talk to you about this for hours, but for now, I will let you go. Please come back anytime and bring the good news and bring the good work. Professor John Shelton has been our guest. He is the AFT Wisconsin president, also a professor at University of Wisconsin Green Bay. Sir, thank you so much. Happy belated Labor Day. We'll talk to you hopefully sooner than later. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Happy Labor Day, brother, and happy Labor Day to everybody else out there.
All right, when we come back from the news, Terry Barr is here to talk about her slice of Wisconsin, so don't go far. Stay close, stay hydrated. You are amazing. Let no one tell you differently. You are listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning, Miss Terry Barr.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right, thank you. That guy was really interesting to
Oh,
listen to.
this has been a great show. You got Todd talking, like, seriously, I'm
Oh,
so incredibly lucky. And now we have you talking about Slice of Wisconsin. We're gonna, we're gonna come back in a little bit. We're gonna kick it off. I will introduce you. I will, and
okay.
I have not listened to the audio. I want to be as fresh and new as everyone else listening. So,
Excellent. I love that.
all right, is there anywhere else besides that you want to take me, or just like let you roll and do your thing, and we'll talk?
No, we can just, chit chat through it and play
Great,
the audio,
excellent.
and yeah, we'll just roll with it.
Excellent. All right, we come back in about 3.5 minutes, and I'll talk to you in a little moment. All
Okay.
right.
Well, I'm the genie of the lamp, and the three wishes I will grant.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is currently somewhere, but not here. But she misses you, and she wants you to drink water. If you want to get in touch with us, our number, call or text, it's the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream if you so choose. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the place in this house we still call Twitter. But at the end of the show, we will be doing This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Want Fries with That edition at 10:52, so don't go anywhere. That's how we round out the show. Lots of great stuff happening throughout the day. Just a reminder, at 1 p.m. Central, so 1 p.m. our time, President Trump will be making an announcement from the Oval Office. We do not know what it's about. Information has not been released, but as we know more, we will share more. But stay here because I'm sure we will have coverage and I'm sure we'll be talking about it. But you can always count on Civic Media for the up-to-news updates. 1 p.m., President Trump making an announcement from the Oval Office. Todd Alba on from 2 to 4, as we talked about earlier. Then Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6. She's going to be talking to Angela Lang, who was here last week as our co-host. And they're going to be talking about Labor Fest. They're going to be talking about the Senate-elect for Iowa's Senate District number 1, who flipped the district last week. So that's going to be a great show. And then, of course, Pete Schwaba with Nightlight from 6 to 8. He is going to be talking to Ty Williams, who is Milwaukee film programmer. And that's going to be a great show. But even after Pete's done, there's amazing, amazing programming with Civic Media. You can listen to Rational Revolution. You can listen to Native Roots Radio. Get the Civic Media app in your life, and you can do that. Listen to us. Keep us close. Keep it tuned in because we got great programming, great content, great things to talk about. And one of the great things I get to do in this job is talk to my next guest. As Jane puts it, the genie who does pretty much everything at Civic Media. Terry Barr is here. Terry, how are you?
I am good. It's hard to live up to that introduction, though, Greg.
It's you who do all of the things. So I feel like, if anything, it's not enough.
You are so kind.
God
Happy
Emperor
belated
Terry.
Labor Day to you. I hope you had a good one.
Yeah, I did. Yesterday was a relaxing one. As I mentioned earlier, we had a big weekend with family. My mother-in-law's 80th birthday. We celebrated this past weekend because everyone was in town. Lots going on, lots of visiting, lots of eating. And so by 3:30 yesterday, I was just laying on the couch saying, is it too early to go to bed? Because I'm tired enough.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So it wore me. How was your Labor Day weekend, Terry? What were you up to?
It was pretty quiet. You know, sometimes it's nice to not have things planned, isn't it?
That's definitely an adult thing. Like when you just look around going, we don't have anything to do right now.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to watch replays of Simon and Simon? Absolutely, we do. All right. Because that's what we do on the weekend. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I as an adult, I completely appreciate the nothing going on days where you can say, like, we can do as little or as much as possible, but that's just great. So that's wonderful. I'm glad you had a great weekend of relaxing. You have brought with us another installment of your fantastic program, your trade marketed thing. I don't know how to, you do, it's called Slice of Wisconsin, where you highlight a part of Wisconsin, business people, that kind of thing. And you brought us something, and I did not listen to the audio because I wanted it to be as fresh in my mind for everybody else. So is there any setup, or do you want to go right to the audio, Terry?
No, let me tell you a little bit about this one.
Okay. All right.
I'm talking about a museum in Wisconsin, and it's the RAR West Art Museum. It's located in Manitowoc.
Okay.
And it's celebrating 75 years this year. But that isn't all. that's a big milestone for a museum, which is
Yeah.
great. It's owned by the city, so the city takes this very seriously, and it's going to be open this weekend for a big festival. It's called Sputnik Fest. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Greg. It's a
I mean, I've
real
heard of
thing.
Sputnik, but I didn't ever heard of Sputnik Fest.
Well, here's the fascinating thing that makes this a slice of Wisconsin. When anything happens, we always say, oh, it's probably has a tie to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Well, way back in the 60s, Sputnik number 4 blew up, and a
Okay.
big chunk of it landed in the street right in front of the museum in Manitowoc. I can't make this up. This is very real. But now they've decided to put a great festival around it. And Greg Vadney is with the museum. He talked to me about what this means, not just to the museum, but the community. And it'll probably surprise you a little bit too. Let's listen to what he says.
Go ahead, play that, Calvin.
And for us, as an art museum and historic mansion, it's a great equalizer because not everyone, and I would venture to guess most people, don't think that an art museum housed in a Victorian mansion is a place where they belong. It's snooty. It's like you have to have a beret when you walk in, right? And Sputnik and Sputnik Fest says, no, we're a place for everybody, and we don't take ourselves too seriously, and come on in. And it's a great way of swinging open those doors and telling everyone that they belong here. So for the museum, it's valuable. For our history, it's valuable. And really for our community history, that we have this thing that we can cling to that happened here and happened nowhere else on Earth.
I love the idea that people would think that, like, to go to Sputnik Fest, they're like, I didn't bring a beret. Do you have one for me to wear?
Right. Well, now he said people will be dressing up as all kinds of outer space creatures. So I think the beret's off the table for Sputnik Fest.
I
But
wanted
they
to see a Sputnik lookalike contest.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? They do. I think they have on the schedule a dog dress-up contest, so those are always fun. But to
Oh.
think this chunk of Sputnik
Yeah.
fell, crash landed on the street in front of the museum of all places, and now how they want to turn this into a regular festival. I think it's just so much fun. What a great way to learn about a piece of history. They've got the piece in the museum.
Yeah.
And they say, this whole museum idea, people from around the world have heard that they have this piece in the museum from Sputnik. And when I was talking with Vadney, he said it seems like more people in other parts of the world know about this than we do in Wisconsin. So that just makes it really interesting. And if you want to check it out and be part of all the fun, Sputnik Fest is happening this Saturday. But
This
again, I think it's a great little slice of Wisconsin.
I completely agree. If you're just joining us on Matenaer On Air, we're talking to Terry Barr, the genie who does pretty much everything here at Civic Media. And you can always go to civicmedia.us/news for all the stuff that Terry is working on. But I agree. I think that there's a lot. I mean, I think part of the reason, Terry, that this what you do with Slice Wisconsin is so great is because it's true. There's so much that people know about us that we don't know about ourselves. Those Wisconsin tie-ins, those little pieces of history that, wait a minute, Liberace's from Wisconsin, like those kinds of things. So, and honestly, I just love it when people use really fun reasons for a festival or a thing. I mean, nothing against the piece of Wisconsin or piece of Sputnik. I love that. But it's also just a thing of like, hey, how can we turn this into a community-based party where we bring people in, have a good time? Really, I mean, let's be honest, Terry. Now is as good a time as any to celebrate and have fun. There's a lot going on in the world, and to be able to kick back for a Saturday and say, hey, let's go look at a piece of a space that fell into our backyard. I think that's great. I think that's great.
I do too. And if you've never been to Manitowoc, it's a lovely city and a chance to check out this, as he put it, a museum that is in a mansion and is owned by the city. I mean, just go and have some fun for a Saturday afternoon. Why not?
Absolutely. And in fact, I can say this too. I was speaking earlier about what's coming up later on in the evening on Civic Media. During Nightlight with Pete Schwaba tonight, 6 to 8, you can listen to it. He will be speaking to Greg Vadney in the WGBW studio. So if you want to learn more about it, tune in. You can do that by getting the Civic Media app. You can listen to it, get it on your device. You can listen to that show then and enjoy that. I mean, because I would love to go. I want to see Terry. Let's be honest. If you know me, you know me. I just want to see the dog costume contest.
I know.
I just see little Sputniks on 4 paws, just with little things sticking out. Just who's the cutest Sputnik? I mean, absolutely.
Yes, I will ask for photos if I don't get to go by, and I will make sure you get to see those.
Excellent. Is there anything else going on? Slice of Wisconsin that you got your eye on? I know you also join Pete's show every Friday for bar. It's Bar Room Friday?
It's Bar Band Friday.
Bar
night.
Band Friday.
Yeah.
You highlight local music, and I mean, that's the thing is you do so much, Terry, for the local culture. What do you have simmering brewing coming up that you'd love to share with us?
I just did a story, and this was another slice of Wisconsin. It's on our website, the front page, so you can listen to it if you'd like. But about the history of the Badgers, because of Badgers just started their football season last Thursday. And, when you dig into some of these stories, you're always amazed that you find things you didn't know. And that's kind of what
Yeah.
you were saying with Sputnik and just history of our state in general. And the Badgers were not called Badgers because of the animal. Originally, they were called the Badgers way back in the 1800s because of the miners that were in the Mineral Point area and how they would dig caves like a badger to keep themselves warm while they were working. So many interesting ties that are so fun to share with everybody in these slice of Wisconsins.
I'm finding out so much on today's episode. Professor John Shelton is telling me that there is a law on the Wisconsin book saying you had to teach labor history in school. I didn't know that.
Oh,
I just
wow. I
figured
didn't know that.
I figured I didn't know. I didn't know about Sputnik until today. I didn't know about the Badgers till I don't know, folks. I know nothing about Wisconsin. Apparently,
You're going to have to take a nap after this show.
I know. I've learned so much from Todd, from Terry, from John. It's been wonderful. I'm going to walk away with so many topics to bring up at dinner parties. Unwelcome too. I'll be like, they'll be talking about something about, well, they weren't actually called the Badgers because of the animal, right? Well, actually, and then I go into a long screen. I never get invited to that party again.
You would make it very memorable, though.
Exactly. I would, because I would be dressed up as a badger. But if you want to read more of that, as I said earlier, as I said before, Terry Barr, all of her stories are on the website, civicmedia.us/news. And if you want to listen to all the shows, you can go to civicmedia.us/shows. You can listen to it live from the website. You can listen to it via the app, or, of course, from the terrestrial radio always works as well. Terry, it's having you here is like a slice of Wisconsin, a slice of heaven. I appreciate your time, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you so much, everybody. That's Terry Barr, the genie of absolutely everything here at Civic Media. When we return, we are going to be closing the show out with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. You want fries with that edition. If you want to be part of the conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Call or text, leave a comment on the live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that we in this house still call Twitter. But don't go too far, because when we come back, we're going to be wrapping it up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Get yourself some water, get a snack, head on over to the show back, because we're going to be having a good time up until 11 o'clock. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay close, stay tuned.
It's 12 o'clock. Well, I'm the genie of the lamp, ain't got no time to say. As a matter of fact, ain't got no time to stay. Tired of waiting.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer, who is currently somewhere in the world, and I don't know where, but she misses you and she loves you. But we thank you for being here for to the rest of the show today. We're having a good time. We talked to a lot of amazing people, Calvin. Calvin, I learned a lot. Did you learn a lot today? I hope you did.
Oh, I just soaked it up like a sponge.
Okay. Wow. That was a weird tone. All right. So if you want to call or text 855-752-4842, 855-756. Leave a comment on the live stream on YouTube, Facebook, and what we still in this house call Twitter. As I said before, great programming coming up after the show. We got Tom Hartman after us from 11 to 2, Todd Alba from 2 to 4, Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6, and then Pete Schwaba with Nightlife from 6 to 8. And Calvin, you made me aware of a mistake that I've been making apparently for some time now because I just didn't check the website lately, and that's my fault. My fault.
Everyone makes mistakes, Greg.
Yep. You can listen to Native Roots Radio on the weeknights, but you cannot listen to Rational Revolution on the weeknights. That is not correct. It is the Rick Smith Show. My mistake. You can hear Rational Revolution on the weekends. I just want to make sure people are searching. They're not like, what did that Greg Bach tell me? He is a charlatan and a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So I've corrected the mistake. Yeah. Rick Smith, Native Roots Radio, but great programming. If you want to find out more, go to civicmedia.us/shows to find out our whole lineup. All the shows we got going on. You can download episodes and listen to them on your device anytime, anywhere you'd like. Just that simple. civicmedia.us/shows. Now, it's 10:54. I've been talking for what seems like a decade. Calvin, that means it's time for This Shouldn't Be a Thing. And of course, if you have a thing that you believe that should not be, send it in to Jane, Calvin, and me by emailing us. Jane says at civicmedia.us, JANESAYS at civicmedia.us. Send us, this shouldn't be a thing. Send us guest information. We can talk about subject matters, but you can get in touch with us. Let us know how we're doing, whether you like us or not, because trust me, people who don't like us use that email as well. But Jane says at civicmedia.us. Now, for today's This Shouldn't Be a Thing, here is the headline found to us by Calvin from the BBC.com website. Shiona McCallum is the senior tech reporter with the byline. Taco Bell rethinks AI drive-thru after man orders 18,000 waters. Taco Bell is rethinking its use of artificial intelligence to power drive-thru restaurants in the United States after comical videos of tech making mistakes were viewed millions of times. In one clip, a customer seemingly crashed the system by ordering 18,000 water cups, while another person got increasingly angry as the AI repeatedly asked him to add more drinks to his order. It's been since 2023 that the fast food chain has introduced the technology to over 500 locations in the United States. I know, Calvin, the time I've gone to Taco Bell, I'll drive up and it'll say, "Are you using this the Taco Bell app?" I'm like, "Nope." And then it'll be another person. So I don't know how much AI I'm interacting with, but they thought the AI would do the work, Calvin, and it's not. Once again, AI is comically failing us.
Yeah, AI is not smart. And I guess I will say this article says that they have this AI in 500 locations. So if you consider in the grand scheme of how many Taco Bells there are,
yeah,
there must not be any Taco Bells around here in that 500.
I mean,
you're right. You just get the automated, are you using the app? And then it's just as a real person. I would assume this is an actual AI, like, that is replying to you and tracking what you're saying.
Which is really weird because, like, I had to use AI twice this week. Like, I had to. There was no choice. I try not to use it. And by the way, as of this year in March, there are 8,093 Taco Bells in 51 states and territories. That's a lot of Taco Bells. But AI, like, does this. I had to go on, like, a helpline for my television. And I had to go on and, like, answer the questions. And it kept trying to, like, talk to me in a way that it was convincing me that it was a human, but I knew it wasn't a human. And I just feel like, just give me a phone number. Just give me a real person. I'd love to, but AI. In this situation, I'll say it's because I know the robot overlords are listening to us right now, Calvin. I think that AI has failed us in the Taco Bell end. I won't say anything else because I want to be looked upon by our shiny despots lovingly when the time comes for judgment. But yeah, this is one where I can imagine, like, one clip on Instagram says it's been viewed 21.5 million times, shows a man ordering a large Mountain Dew and the AI voice continually replying, "And what will you drink with that?" I think we can shut it down, Taco Bell. I think we can just trust the person at the drive-thru to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking our jobs and they're not doing them very well.
yeah. AI's going to take our jobs, and they're going to be just as bad as we are. They're going to get written. That's what AI's going to get written up. They're going to get like a warning, probation, and then they'll fire AI. You see it here first. We're talking about tech news on Matenaer On Air. But for now, when you go to Taco Bell, maybe just go inside and order, make your life a lot easier. But that has been another edition of This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Thank you so much, Calvin. Thank you so much, Terry Barr. Thank you, Professor John Shelton. Thank you, Todd Alba, for being here for today. Seriously, I learned so much. We got a great show for you today. I'm really glad you were here listening to us. And thank you, texters, commenters, callers, listeners, watchers. Without you, there's no us. You don't want to go very far because coming up after us is going to be the Tom Hartman Show and then just a swath of wonderful programming. Don't forget, 1 p.m. announcement from the Oval Office. Donald Trump will be making a statement to the country. Keep it locked here for more information on that and for the commentary afterwards when we're talking about what he has to say. You have been listening to me. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matenaer on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. You are absolutely amazing. Let no one tell you differently. Stay close. Stay tuned. You're listening to Civic Media Radio Network. Have a great Tuesday. Happy belated Labor Day. Bye-bye.